It's 2 in the morning. You're standing at the gate of Yasaka Shrine, Gion, Kyoto. The street is empty. The stone lanterns are dark. Nobody knows you're here. Close your eyes. Take one breath, and let's go. Keep your eyes closed. I want you to build this image slowly. You're standing on a wide stone street. The stone is dark, almost black in the night, and slightly uneven under your shoes. Not cracked, just old. The kind of old that has absorbed 100 years of rain. In front of you, and I mean directly in front of you, maybe 30 meters away, stands a gate. Not a wooden gate, not a metal gate. A torii. 2 thick stone pillars, rising up maybe 8 or 9 meters, taller than a 3-story building. Connected at the top by 2 horizontal beams. The whole thing is a dark gray in the dark. No color. Just mass. Just presence. It makes you feel slightly smaller than you thought you were. That's the point. The air here is cool, maybe 16 or 17 degrees, and damp in the way that nighttime air gets in old cities. It smells of old stone, that specific mineral smell like the inside of a well, or a cave that hasn't been disturbed. And underneath that, very faintly, cedarwood, warm, resinous, like a forest floor after rain. And underneath even that, the ghost of incense. Smoke that was here hours ago and hasn't quite left yet. Take a breath of all of that. I actually stopped walking to do this, and a man on a bicycle had to swerve around me. He was very polite about it. This is Japan. Now walk toward the gate. Your footsteps make a soft sound on the stone. Not quite an echo, more like the stone acknowledging you. As you get closer, the gate gets bigger. It always does that here. No matter how many times you've seen a torii in photographs, the actual thing is always larger than your memory of it. Pass under it, and notice, just notice, how the air feels different on the other side. Quieter, more contained, like stepping from a corridor into a room. Or maybe it's just that you exhaled without realizing it. Both are possible. Now you're on the approach path to the shrine. On both sides of you, standing at regular intervals like very patient sentinels, are stone lanterns. Picture them clearly. Each one is about chest height, carved from a single piece of granite. At the top, a small enclosed box, where the flame would sit, if there were a flame. Tonight there's no flame, just the shapes. Dark, rounded tops, one after another, leading you forward into the dark. There are dozens of them. I find that number oddly comforting. The main hall is ahead. Let me describe it carefully. because there's nothing quite like it in most of the world. Imagine a building made entirely of wood, deep red wood, almost the color of dried blood or old brick, sitting on a raised stone platform. The roof is where it gets interesting. It curves, not gently, dramatically. At the corners, the roof line sweeps upward, as if the building is mid-flight, as if it's trying to lift off the ground. The roof is covered in curved ceramic tiles, dark gray, each one overlapping the next, and at the very peak, a thick ridge of clay runs the full length. Under the eaves, the overhanging part of the roof, small lanterns are tucked in, glowing very faintly, like embers that haven't quite gone out. Not bright enough to illuminate anything, just enough to remind you that this place is alive. Stand in front of it. This shrine is dedicated to a god called Susanoo, the Shinto deity of storms. Not a gentle god, not a god of harmony or harvest, a god of storms. And yet, listen. Not a sound, not a breath of wind, not a leaf moving, just the faint sound of the city, very far away. A low hum, like the city is breathing in its sleep. I think even the god of storms takes the night off sometimes. Step into the courtyard. It opens up around you, wider than you'd expect, considering the street outside. The ground here is packed earth and gravel, not stone. It feels different underfoot. Softer, less formal. Around the edges of the courtyard, smaller shrines sit tucked into the corners and along the walls. Each one, a simple wooden structure, dark wood, a small offering box in front, a rope with a bell above it. Each one for a different purpose. Business success, a happy marriage, safe childbirth, recovery from illness. Japan's gods are wonderfully practical. They cover everything, from your company's quarterly results to your grandmother's hip. You can think of the whole courtyard as a kind of spiritual department store. Very tasteful, very quiet. Closed at 2 a.m. Take one slow look around the whole space before we leave. The dark courtyard, the old stone underfoot, the small lantern light under the eaves, the outline of the city beyond the walls. Breathe in, out. Good. Just behind the shrine, through a gap in the wall, a path leads into the park. Follow me. I'm fairly confident I know which way it is. The path through the gap in the wall is narrow, just wide enough for one person, and then it opens. Completely. The enclosed feeling of the shrine drops away, and suddenly there's sky above you. Wide, dark, open sky. And the smell of earth and grass, and something wet and alive. You've stepped into Maruyama Park. This is Kyoto's most loved public park. In the daytime, especially in spring, it's absolutely packed. Thousands of people sitting on blue plastic tarps under the cherry trees, eating bento boxes, drinking canned beer, falling asleep in the afternoon sun. It is gloriously chaotic. But right now, nothing. The tarps are gone. The people are gone. Even the birds are asleep. Just the park, breathing quietly in the dark. Walk forward onto the gravel path. The gravel makes a soft crunching sound with each step, the kind of sound that is somehow both humble and satisfying. You can feel each small stone shifting slightly under the sole of your foot. It's a very grounding feeling. Now, ahead of you, at the center of the park, is a tree. Even in the dark, it commands the space. A weeping cherry tree. Let me build this image for you carefully, because it's unlike most trees you've probably seen. The trunk is thick, maybe a meter across at the base, and gnarled. Not the clean, straight trunk of a pine or an oak. Twisted, old, like something that has been through a great deal and is not bothered about it. And from that trunk, from every branch, long, thin stems cascade downward. Not like a normal tree that reaches upward. The opposite. Everything falls, like a fountain, but frozen, like hair, like rain that decided to stay. The branches hang all the way down to just above the ground, some of them grazing the gravel. In spring, every one of those hanging branches is covered in pale pink blossoms. Thousands and thousands of small flowers, so many that the tree looks like a pink waterfall. When the wind blows, the petals fall like snow. Right now, none of that. Just the bare branches, hanging still in the windless 2 a.m. air. And honestly, there's something more intimate about it this way. The famous version is beautiful, but this version, dark, bare, completely still, completely yours. This version is honest. Walk toward it. As you get closer, you can see the individual branches more clearly. They're thin as fingers, and even without wind, the very tips tremble. Almost imperceptibly, the way your hand trembles slightly when you hold it out flat and very still. Just that. Just alive. To your left, there's a pond. It's perfectly flat. No ripples, no current. Just a mirror lying on the ground. The dark sky above is reflected in it, and the stars, faint as they are tonight, appear in the water too. If you look at the pond and then look up, then look back at the pond, it becomes hard to tell which one is real. I stared at it for quite a while trying to work that out. I came to no conclusion, but it was very peaceful. Find a bench along the path. They're wooden. Simple dark planks on iron legs, slightly damp from the night air, Sit down. Feel the slight give of the wood under your weight. Let your spine settle. Let your shoulders drop. Just a little. Lower than they were. The weeping cherry tree is in front of you. Its long branches reach toward you like it's offering you something. Maybe just company. That's enough at 2 a.m. In the distance, just at the edge of hearing, water. A soft, continuous sound. Not dramatic. More like the sound a city makes when it's deeply, completely asleep. That's the Shirakawa Canal, just beyond the park's edge, and we'll get there soon. But the park isn't finished with you yet. Breathe in, out, in, out. When you're ready, the water is waiting. We leave the park through a side path, narrow, slightly overgrown at the edges, and step out onto a street. And the world changes again. Completely. Where the park was open and dark and smelled of earth, this is enclosed, precise, ancient. This is Hanamikoji. The name translates as Flower Viewing Alley. Even just saying it feels like something good is about to happen. Stand at the top of the street and build the image piece by piece. First, the stone. The entire street is paved in dark stone. Not in a grid. Not in a straight pattern. But fitted together by hand, each stone a slightly different size and shape. From above, it would look like a puzzle. From where you're standing, it just looks like the ground has always been this way. The stone glistens very faintly, not wet but polished by a century of feet. Next, the buildings. On both sides of you, as far as you can see, traditional townhouses stand shoulder to shoulder. These are called machiya, and they are unlike Western buildings in almost every way. Imagine a building that is very narrow at the front, maybe 5 or 6 meters wide, but extremely deep. Some of them go back 20 or 30 meters. The Japanese have a nickname for this shape. Unagi no nedoko, the eel's bed, because it's long and narrow, like an eel. Nobody asked the eels for their opinion on this comparison. Presumably they were fine with it. The facades of these buildings, what you see from the street, are made of dark, lacquered wood. Not painted, lacquered, which means layers and layers of a resin finish that hardens over time and gets darker and deeper with age. The wood on these buildings is so dark, it's almost black. Across the front of each building, thin horizontal strips of wood, spaced maybe 3 or 4 centimeters apart, running the full width of the facade. This is the lattice, koshi, and it does something very specific. From outside, looking in, you see almost nothing, just darkness behind the slats. But from inside, looking out, you can see everything. The person inside can watch the street without being seen. For a neighborhood that was built around the idea of privacy and discretion, that makes perfect sense. I stood very close to one of these facades for a while, trying to see through the lattice. You cannot see through it. That's the point. I know that now. But the sound of water up ahead, that I can find. Above one of the doorways, a paper lantern. Round, white, about the size of a large beach ball. It's not lit, just a pale shape hanging in the dark, turning almost imperceptibly in an air current you can't feel. Walk forward. The stone beneath your feet is slightly uneven. Not dangerously, just honestly. Each stone a tiny bit different from the last. I caught my foot on one slightly higher than expected and stumbled. Just a little. I am fine. The stone is fine. Carry on. Walk to the middle of the street. Stop here. Look up. The roof lines of the buildings on both sides tilt toward each other above you. Not touching, but close. They create a corridor. And above the corridor, a long, narrow slice of dark sky. And in that sky, the suggestion of stars. Breathe in, out. The air here has a specific character. The cool dampness of stone, mixed with something older, drier. The smell of old wood that has absorbed decades of incense and cooking and rain. This street is one of the most photographed in Japan. Every single day, hundreds of tourists line up at dawn with cameras, waiting for the light to be exactly right. And right now, completely empty, completely quiet. Just you, standing in the middle of it, at 2 in the morning. Let that be enough for a moment. Breathe in, out. At the end of Hanamikoji, we turn east, toward the water that's been calling us this whole time. You hear it before you see it. A soft, continuous sound, like someone in the next room turning the pages of a book. Very slowly, very gently. That's water. Moving water. You step around the corner, and there it is. A canal. Running right alongside the stone path, maybe 3 or 4 meters wide. Shallow enough that you can see the pale stones at the bottom catching the faint light. The water moves with this quiet, steady confidence. Not rushing. Not hesitating. Just forward. Constantly forward. It knows where it's going. Unlike some of us earlier tonight, near the park entrance. But that's behind us now. This is the Shirakawa, the White River. The name comes from those pale stones at the bottom. In sunlight, the water would look almost white, clear and bright over white stones. At 2 a.m., it's dark. Of course. But if you look carefully, you can still see those pale stones shifting slightly in the current below you. Walk alongside it. The path here is narrower than Hanamikoji, just enough for 2 people to pass comfortably. The stones are slightly damp, not slippery, just cool, and your footsteps sound different here. Quieter, more absorbed. On your right, old tea houses stand in a row. These are called ochaya, and they are where Gion's geiko entertain. Geiko is the Kyoto word for what the rest of Japan calls geisha. They are not the same as what you may have seen in movies, the cliched image, the Halloween costume. A geiko in Gion is a highly trained professional. Years of study in traditional music, classical dance, tea ceremony, the art of conversation. Think less exotic decoration and more the most skilled entertainer in the room. Behind those shuttered windows, completely dark and silent now, there are rooms where sake is poured with precise grace, where shamisen music fills the air, where conversations happen that nobody outside will ever hear. Right now, silent, waiting. On your left, willow trees line the canal bank. Long, trailing branches hang down toward the water, some of them almost touching the surface. They barely move, just the very tips trembling slightly, the way a sleeping person's fingers sometimes twitch. I watched one particular branch for quite a long time. I believe it moved, or I blinked at exactly the wrong moment. At 2 in the morning, these distinctions become philosophical. I leaned in slightly to hear it better, and got a little too close to the edge. One foot got slightly wet, just the toe. The water is cold. Worth knowing before we get to the bridge. Match your breathing to it. In as the water moves. Out as the water moves. There is nothing to think about right now. Nothing to plan. Nothing to solve. Nothing to remember. Just this path. Just this water. Just this 2 a.m. that belongs entirely to you. A little further ahead, the canal curves slightly. And at the curve, you'll see it. A bridge. Small. Stone. Arching over the water like a held breath. The Tatsumi Bridge. Come with me. There it is. Small. Simple. 5 or 6 steps from one side to the other. Built from the same pale stone as the canal bed. Gray. Slightly rough. Cool to the touch. The arch is very gentle. Just the slightest curve. Like a sigh given physical form. This is the Tatsumi Bridge. And if you've ever seen a photograph of Gion, the one photograph, the image that appears in every travel magazine, every postcard, every places to visit before you die list, this is that place. Stone bridge. Dark water. Willow trees trailing down on both sides. Old tea house rooftops in the background. You've seen it before, and now you're standing in it. Step onto the bridge. The stone underfoot is slightly rough. Good grip. I confirmed this by testing the edge slightly more than intended. The wall there is also very solid. We move on. Stop in the middle. Now, look down at the water. It moves below you. Dark, clear, steady. Maybe half a meter below the bridge surface. You can see the pale stones at the bottom shifting slowly. Their shapes distorted slightly by the moving water above them. Now look at the surface of the water. The dark sky above, reflected below. The suggestions of stars, reflected below. And where the current moves, the reflection breaks apart, then drifts back together, then breaks apart again, like a thought you almost had. You could watch this for a very long time. I already did, which explains why this chapter starts slightly later than scheduled. No regrets. Look up now. The willow branches hang just above the bridge. Long, trailing down on both sides. Some of them close enough to touch if you raised your hand. Beyond the willows, the old tea house rooftops, their curved ridges against the dark sky. And above all of that, the sky, dark and wide, and very, very quiet. You are standing in one of the most beautiful places in the world, at the most beautiful hour, at 2 in the morning, when nobody else is here. Think about that. This bridge was built during the Edo period, which ended in 1868. Before cars, before electric light, before most of the modern world existed. The same stone, the same arch, the same water flowing underneath. Geiko have crossed this bridge on the way to work for over 100 years. Merchants, lords, artists, monks, all of them crossed here. And now, you. Stay a moment. Whatever you've been carrying today, let the water take it. Just for tonight. The Shirakawa will carry it downstream, out into the city, and it will become someone else's problem for a few hours. Breathe in, out. One more. In, out. Now, cross to the other side. 5 steps. And on the other side, the last street of the night. Shinbashi Dori. The name means New Bridge Street. New in Kyoto being a relative term, this street has been here since the Edo period, which ended in 1868. So, new. Step onto it. It's narrow, noticeably narrower than anything we've walked tonight. If you stretched both arms out sideways, your fingertips would almost graze the walls on either side. Don't try this. I'm just telling you so you can feel the scale. Though I did try it briefly near the entrance to verify. The left wall is particularly solid, good information to have. On either side, machiya townhouses, but older than the ones on Hanamikoji. Much older. The wood here has darkened over many decades into something that is almost not a color anymore, just depth. The stone walls at the base of each building are worn smooth, not by weather, but by generations of people walking close, shoulders brushing stone. Think about that. Hundreds of thousands of people, over hundreds of years, walking close enough to brush this wall. And now your shoulder, in that same stream. The eaves of the buildings are low, so low that a tall person would need to duck slightly. This was deliberate. In feudal Japan, passing under a low eave meant bowing your head, a built-in reminder that you are a guest here, that this space belongs to someone else. Walk forward. The street curves ahead, just gently, just slightly, so you can't see where it ends. It simply disappears into the dark, like a sentence that trails off. Your footsteps are the quietest they've been all night here. The stone absorbs sound. The walls absorb sound. The whole street seems to be holding its breath. The silence here has texture. Not empty silence. Full silence. The silence of a place that has held a great deal of noise and life and history, and is now, at this specific hour, letting all of that rest. Ahead, the curve opens slightly, and between the buildings, the Shirakawa again, glinting very faintly, moving steadily, still going. You walked alongside it tonight, you crossed it, and here it is again, following you, or you following it. It's hard to say. The river doesn't lose sleep over such questions. Lucky river. Find a place to stop, anywhere along this street, against one of these old walls perhaps. Let the stone support you. It's very solid. I can confirm this. Several times over, actually. And stop. Just stop moving. Let's stay here a moment and think about what tonight was. You started at the great stone torii of Yasaka Shrine, a gate so old that when it was built, most of the world had no idea this place existed. You walked through Maruyama Park in the middle of the night, alone, under a weeping cherry tree, while the whole city slept around you. You walked the full length of Hanamikoji, one of the most photographed streets in all of Japan, and there was no one there but you. You stood beside the Shirakawa and listened to water that has been flowing through this neighborhood for longer than any building here has been standing. You stood in the middle of the Tatsumi Bridge and watched the sky come apart in the water and come back together again. And now here. Shinbashi-dori, the oldest feeling street in a city full of old streets. The sky above you is still dark. Properly. Completely dark. The city is asleep. Gion is asleep. The tea houses, the shrines, the willow trees, the canal, the weeping cherry in the park. Even the god of storms, presumably, is asleep. And now it's your turn. Let your breath slow down. Let your thoughts go quiet. The way the whole city goes quiet at 2 in the morning. Breathe in, out, in, out. If you found something here tonight, before you sleep, leave us a note in the comments. Where you are, what time it is. That's enough. Good night, and welcome, always, to Kyoto.